getting right into architecture, we can jump right in there. Can we start in the game world, because that's something I was thinking of. I was just playing VR chat for the most part the other day, and every world, like the more I play it, the more I'm actually looking around and kind of thinking like, why did we do this? Why did we do that? And an observation I had is that like a lot of the architecture when you're like IRL architecture, in my mind, and I'm sure you can educate me on this, a lot of it is due to possibly the constraints or limitations or what the materials that we have to work with can do. With VR, those restrictions are gone. Yet I'm seeing just the same functions IRL architecture types into VR. And I'm wondering if that's just how people are starting out, if that's where you see things going, or are we doing too much of exactly what we have IRL in VR? Like, is there a lot of room here for trying new things?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I see. I think there are many reasons for that. I see two big reasons. One is since the industry is so new, where things haven't settled yet in terms of who are the people who are supposed to design these virtual environments,
Mm-hmm.
because it's we don't have any kind of profession that I feel is 100% qualified for the particular challenges of virtual spaces. And what I'm trying to do, and there are a few other traditionally trained architects, we're trying to say, look, we think this kind of new discipline should be claimed by architecture and architects,
Mm-hmm.
because we know how to design space and we're the only discipline like taught how to design space. But then we also see a lot of in like game environment designers jumping in, and we see a lot of 3D artists jumping in and doing very cool stuff. Um, and there are struggles that I see on both sides. So I see traditionally trained architects struggle to reimagine architecture without gravity,
Mm-hmm.
because we spend our entire education and career developing an intuition for the forces of gravity, and everything is supposed to be tied to that. Like a good design shows a deep knowledge of construction techniques, and that has to do with how the forces kind of flow through the building downwards. And then you have to throw that hard-earned intuition out of the window and ask yourself, well, what could a space look like without that? And it's damn hard to answer that question. Then when I move over and look at spaces designed by 3D artists and environment artists, I feel that they're lacking what the architects have, which is an understanding of the procession through space. They tend to think of spaces as, okay, this is the room, or this is the level where you're shooting some things. Whereas in architecture, we should be learning, a lot of us don't, about how the concept of a building has to come out from your interaction as a subject with the building, whether you're contemplating something in a corner or you're walking through a hallway from room A to room B and so on. So
Mm-hmm.
it's that dynamic interaction between what we call subject and object that should produce some feeling or some ideas, which is the concept. And I feel that 3D artists are lacking a bit experience in that department, and that's also because maybe they don't normally deal with immersive things, right? What they
Sure.
produce stay on the 2D screen, whereas what architects produce eventually gets turned into a real life one-to-one scale object,
Yes.
which is immersive by definition.
I like the thought process of having someone with little to no game background creating the architecture in games. So I was recently asked a question at an interview for a job I was highly unqualified for, just due to my background. I didn't have any, but the superpowers I'd want, it was like, what superpowers would you want for this job? Flying in X-ray vision, because that gives me a unique perspective. Because I have no background already for knowing what you guys need, and with those two superpowers, I'm not only going to have my entire background that's different thinking, but now I'm seeing everything from different perspectives and the extra vision to put as much of a plan together. And just like when I hire an employee, sometimes I don't want him to have any, or her to have any industry experience, because they're going to come with unique thought processes. And that's something that I think is powerful to, I'm with you. Game developers always have a certain mindset. Architects are going to have a different one. Can we get into like specifics? So like, we'll just, since I know you're very familiar with Half-Life Alyx, what are some of these architectural designs that are importantly and being used correctly, or value added to like an end user that we probably don't even recognize? Like in my head, I'm thinking like doors, I know, are a big problem in VR. I don't fully understand the problem because that's above my knowledge, but I know doors are specifically a big issue.
Yeah, yeah, this is awesome. So doors typically only open in one direction, unless the only exception is our doors in a hospital, for example, that have to kind of swing.
Sure.
But the problem with those is that they're kind of hard to lock. So you can't just lock them with the thing in the middle. They usually have bolts that go into the floor and up into the ceiling. So because of that, most doors have to swing in one direction. So what we saw with Half-Life Alyx is if the door had only gone in one direction and there was like a dead body on the other side, you'd just get stuck there forever.
Yes.
So I thought that was amazing. And well, the thing with, I'll say one thing I really loved about the environment in Half-Life Alyx, and one thing that I didn't. The stuff that I thought was phenomenal is that you would be in some level, and in the distance you would see something amazing, and there would come a level where you would find yourself there.
Mm-hmm.
And I just love that. I remember when I was in high school, we took a trip to the Grand Canyon, and I got there, and there's this like kind of like a view platform, and I got there. We got off the bus, and I looked, and it looked amazing, but it looked still like this poster I had in my room. Like I couldn't process that was the poster, and now I'm actually there and it's real. So it didn't look real at all. And then we hiked down, and we spent the next 5 days hiking down and then back up. And then it became real. So I feel like a lot of VR experiences or games, they have these amazing environments in the background that you never get to.
Mm-hmm.
And in Half-Life, you could actually get there, which
Yes.
made them more real. So that was by far my favorite part.
So like the Citadel would be a good example of that. From like the beginning of the game, you see the Citadel from like the opening like 2 minutes, and
Yes.
and throughout the entire game, you're actually working your way closer and closer to it. And in the level design, it is getting closer and closer. So you're tangibly, basically walking there without realizing it and building this world. So I'm with you on that fully.
Yeah, yeah. They never showed anything amazing that you couldn't like eventually get there. And actually you almost knew that if something looks so amazing it catches your eye, they will make you get there at some point.
Hit that subscribe button to stay on top of the daily clips, or catch the debates and fireside chats live on the main channel down in the video description. See you next time, Space Cowboys.